Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back for another DEI news video with the Terminator. After many months of hard work, testing, and fine-tuning, the next update for Divide Et Impera is finally here and it's a massive one. The dev team have been working tirelessly to fine-tune battle mechanics, overhaul the Greek colony kingdoms, and add and take away various bits and pieces from the campaign and polish this beautiful mod to perfection. It may have been a long wait, but it's all been worth it guys, because what we have now is absolutely amazing. So in this video, I'll be taking you through how to install and play the new beta, all the major changes introduced, and my thoughts on the gameplay experience. Let's get started. So first things first, if you have Rome 2 and you're enjoying DEI on Steam, then just go ahead and type DEI 1.2.8 open beta in the workshop and add it to your list of mods. If you have a standalone version of Rome 2, then you have to go on the DEI website linked in the description below and download it separately. It's just been released guys, so it's likely not compatible with any other mods or the official submods either, and make sure it's at the top of your mod load order to make it work. It's also likely not 100% save compatible as it adds and takes away buildings and other things, so you'll probably have to start a new campaign to enjoy all of it. With all that done, let's have a look at what the patch is all about. First and foremost, the patch does some major work on the Greek colonies, Massalia, Colchis, and the Bosporan Kingdom, giving them a complete roster rework, new recruitment buildings, dual cultural systems, faction group traits, and more. The most interesting part though, and what I'm going to be focusing on, is the cultural aspect of these changes. Each of these factions were historically located in areas that clashed with their Hellenic cultural traits. Massalia, as we all know, was situated in a largely Gallic area, Colchis located in the Caucasian region, and the Bosporan Kingdom with influences by nearby Scythian cultures. With this patch, these unique cultural circumstances have all been added in as gameplay mechanics that the player needs to deal with. When you play these factions, you have a choice for which culture you'd like your people to adopt to benefit from its unique bonuses such as different recruitment options or more positive diplomatic relations with factions that have the same culture, or even positive effects on banditry for the more local culture. However, by choosing one culture over the other, you risk diplomatic penalties with factions that are averse to yours. You close the door on some recruitment options, and you might see some negative public order effects for regions that are not under your cultural influence. It is honestly a breath of fresh air, a fantastic addition to an already amazing mod that continues to surprise and delight. Through the Greek colony overhaul, we can now get even more complexity, even more immersive gameplay, and player decision-making that have real consequences to playstyle and successful DEI campaigning. Together with the expanded rosters, which look brilliant by the way, the Greek colonies have gotten some serious love that make them very much worth playing, and this is what DEI is all about guys, making Rome 2 even more detailed, challenging for the player while maintaining a highly enjoyable level of immersion and ultimately making you wanting to come back and enjoy Rome 2 even more. The next biggest update this patch brings is a lot of changes to how battles work in DEI. Benjen recently figured out that the stamina mechanic doesn't work as well as it should do and causes a hefty amount of lag in battle mode. So the first thing this patch does is remove stamina altogether. That means yes, while stamina is not a thing anymore, you should see some really decent performance gains in your playthrough. When Benjen first released an initial submod fixing this, players were getting up to 30 plus FPS in their battles, so it's definitely something worth expanding and including in this patch. The team have also mentioned there might be work in the future to see where else performance gains can be found, as well as how stamina might be included in the game again, so this isn't the last we'll see of Benjen or stamina in DEI. There are also loads of battle stat changes and improvements, from the discipline formation being removed from lots of units to hoplites now having slightly lower defense. Some of the major ones I picked up on from here are slings and bows don't do any knockback now, which is interesting. Diamond formation has been added to companion cavalry, and there have been some slight increases in infantry charging speeds, which I'll have to take a look at. We also have a whole host of new and updated units for the barbarian factions, including the British, Germanic, Gallic, Celtiberian, and Thracian kingdoms. These new units, 90 of them in total, are meant for the AI only, essentially to make the player have a more challenging experience when fighting these factions on the battlefield. The British kingdoms especially have seen a lot of work on their rosters to update old units, add new units, fix and include brand new visuals and reskins, and British generals being completely reworked to look a lot better as well. This is a very welcome change, as these factions really were quite stale and really didn't pose much of a challenge in the battlefield or in the campaign, with an AI that opted for army rosters that just weren't good enough. So some excellent work has gone into these factions, and if you've been meaning to play the British factions, now is the time. Finally, in this section, I want to talk about the major changes to area of recruitment. Essentially, many of the higher tier units you could just recruit anytime through AOR before can now only be recruited if you have the appropriate immigration or foreign culture building, which ultimately limits your ability to recruit these units, especially if you're a smaller Imperium Empire. Up until now, we've kind of enjoyed free reign on AOR, but with this change, we have to be a bit more methodical and think about how we want to go about recruiting our African Roman Legion, for example. I think it'll be a nice change personally, but I'll have to go in and check it out myself in the coming weeks. The update also does some decent work on the campaign mechanic side of things. Some resources have been switched around between various neighboring regions, and squalor effects have seen some big changes as well, as the sanitation side of things start at tier 1 settlement buildings, while squalor effects on public order have been lowered as well, which I think is a fantastic thing. I was never really a fan of squalor affecting PO to begin with. It was just too much to deal with at times. From a population perspective, all the military technologies you can research that came with upkeep as a bonus are now replaced with increased population growth, which is a very interesting change. I always favored these techs in the long term, but will now have to really think about what populations need the most growth at any given time and how tech might help with that. The economic effects of the population system is also now fully working, which is a great thing. Finally, we've also got some decent changes to victory conditions with Q Sertorius, a new addition to the team, simplifying them and making them more unique for each faction, which is really cool. I look forward to exploring these new conditions. Some of the more major campaign changes include dignitaries are now passive agents only. They have no active actions. Mercenary pools start with 0 at the beginning of your campaign. Higher Imperium levels now have higher recruitment costs. Definitely something to keep in mind. Minor AI factions have reduced bonuses, which means as you grow into your higher Imperium levels, you're more likely to face bigger AI factions as well. Tier 4 barracks now give an additional recruitment slot, and Athens now has the strategic port of Piraeus, which is just awesome. There are dozens of other minor changes as well across the entire mod that change building effects, unit visuals, roster changes, and more, so be sure to read through this section of the patch notes as well. Overall, 1.2.8 is a great addition to the mod that makes some much needed changes to certain campaign mechanics, overhauls the Greek colony kingdoms to make them even better, and adds loads of new units to the barbarian factions to ultimately make an already fantastic mod even more immersive and worth playing. In the coming weeks, I'll be starting a series of videos covering the first 10 turns of DEI factions and exploring how these changes will affect gameplay as well, so stick around if that sounds good to you. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and found it informative. If you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. What do you think about the new DEI update so far? Subscribe for more Total War content, gameplay, and news, and drop by my Discord linked in the description if you want to talk to me and other subscribers as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.